Welcome everybody to my YouTube channel. A few days ago I created a presentation about what is the true meaning of education, and I've covered four sections, three sections actually. So today we are going to continue from the section number four. So let's begin from this section. The Buddhist core, applied, not religious. So I've been explaining for years. Buddhism is not a religion in the way how people perceive it. So, what is Buddhism actually? Buddhism is a philosophical, and it's not just philosophy, pure philosophy. It's a cultural aspect of a nation that we call India, Bharat in the older times. So, Buddhism is a way of life to understand. Like, for example, we have scientific understanding. So let it put it like this. So in the older times, we had these different. Uh, let's talk about the ancient Europe first. So in the ancient Europe, we had places like your Rome, your Greece, and somehow these two places they were also connected with somehow Egypt. So what those people were practicing, they were not practicing science how it is in today's time, but they were practicing something. So that was their interpretation back at the time. It does not mean that whatever they did. See, the core confusion comes from these uh, different frameworks that we have in today's time. So in today's time, the most prominent framework is scientific understanding, scientific knowledge, because it is most documented and the methods are based on experimentation and everything else. It's not something you can perform these experiments and you can recreate the result. So these systems, they have the most validity in today's time. But since we have developed these systems did not come out of the blue. So what happened is, like for example, if we talk in terms of animal kingdom right now, so nobody is documenting animal kingdom, not at least the animals. They're not documenting their history, they're not documenting their behavior, they're not documenting what they do, what they don't do, how they survive, or whether they are good, bad. They're not. So I'm not comparing ourselves, humans with animals, by the way, but I'm just using a metaphorical example. So it does not mean that animals are not doing anything, and they will only start doing something when it is documented. Only then they can do something. So that's wrong. So in the same way, throughout the world, I don't know about other cultures that much. I know about my culture, so I will be keeping this thing to the topic that is connected with this slideshow. So in the ancient time, people lived their lives. So I'm talking about Buddhism as an ancient system, 2500 years old at least. What they did, so it's not too ancient, prehistorical, this and that. I'm not competing about all these things. I'm talking about how these things are, how they perceive these things, how these things were interacting and interconnected with the real life world. All right, and how people used Buddhism as a way of life. So, in that sense, Buddhism, it integrated psychology, it integrated science, It integrated direct understanding. It integrated, like, there were written stuff as well as spoken stuff. Buddha himself did not write anything, as far as my understanding is concerned, but he had his disciples. They noted down his teachings. For example, Buddha was a teacher, he was teaching his stuff. So there were a group of disciples who noted down what he was teaching, and then, according to the teachings, there are these different type of sections in Buddhism. So the most like accurate version is known as Theravada Buddhism. In Theravada Buddhism, the literature, what they've written, is very close to what Buddha has said. They noted out down things how he spoke. I'm talking about Gautam Buddha because there were other Buddhas as well that I don't know much about. There are some sort of Buddhism that has very different understanding on all these aspects. So I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about classical Buddhism. That's what I follow. Classical Buddhism is, like, it was an ancient Buddhistic system because nobody knows actually what true Buddhism was. We have Buddhism in China as well. So that's very different from Indian Buddhism. We have Taoism that is almost alike Buddhism in India. So there's a lot of room for confusion. There's a lot of room for misinterpretation. There are idiots in this world who think merely reading something makes them Buddhist. No, it does not. So, right view without dogma. So, Buddha used to talk about perceiving things right. Because even if you look in today's time in the psychology will tell you that there are personality disorders. Personality disorders exists because people don't perceive things properly. There's something happening in the real world and people are perceiving them very negatively, and they think that whole world is wrong. uh, because of this specific reason, we have a lot of conspiracy theorists. The conspiracy theorists, they have their own take and they want to push the take to be the mainstream stuff. But when their conspiracy beliefs are challenged, they stand nowhere. Let's talk in terms of biggest conspiracy theorist that everybody knows about in today's time is your David Icke. A lot of people talk about David Icke. They call him conspiracy theorist. He himself calls himself conspiracy, I don't know, watcher, study or something. But when you listen to his stories about reptilians, his theories about reptilians, at one point he was presenting his theories as a reality. He was talking about Queen Elizabeth being a shape shifting reptilian and she used to shape. And he was talking about Bollywood actors, your democratic leaders like your Barack Obama or somebody, or Hillary Clinton, this and that. So they all claimed that they were all reptilians. Your British queen and all these lineages, reptilian and all that stuff. I'm not sure whether it's a true fact or not because I was not there, and if I input anything from my side, I will be called as conspiracy theorist. So I will not do that. I will neither confirm nor deny it. Not because I'm being diplomatic here, because I was not present in their experiences, so I have no take. But there's a way to verify whether this thing was in fact true, how to challenge this belief. See, in Indian culture, we have this Naga. We have these Ichhadhari Naga. Ichhadhari means the snakes who could change their form according to their will. So it's like, it's very prominent in our culture, specifically in Hinduism. So yeah, there is some substance to this. It could be some mythological stuff, like people created these myths because in older time there was no psychology, there was no scientific methods to verify anything. So what one person told, the other person also learned and listened, and then it moved on to other village. The village that heard those stories, they told those stories to some other village, and for some reason there was interconnectedness even in the older times. Believe it or not, Europeans used to visit India all the time. Indians used to visit some other continent, Africa, all the time. Africans used to visit. I don't know how it was, but it was the thing because the whole continents were connected, and these stories became myths. Those myths became different versions of the same phenomena, I would say, phenomenon, multiple phenomena. So I'm not pretty sure what started this. This was a thing, that much I know. Whether it was real, whether the stories were real, like for example, if your grandfather, your grandparents told you some stories believing that they were exactly true, and their grandparents told them believing that those stories were exactly true, so you will tend to believe their stories. And just imagine you don't have today's advanced tools like AI, like all the data, all these descriptions about mental disorder or delusion, not disorder even, delusion in specific, mass hysteria, this and that. So you will always uh, like think of this as the reality. So David Icke, he came up with these stories because there was a person, some African individual. His name was Mutua something, Credo Mutua or something, and he started talking. David Icke used to go to Africa and he used to interview that individual. That individual spoke these stories a lot. In the same way, we have these stories in your Native American communities. They also talk about a lot of things. So whether those things were real, I would say that yeah, nobody is so deluded for years and all stuff that they will make all these things up. But it is really difficult for me specifically, for any scientific systems, anybody else, to go back in time and to relive the experience, re-witness the experience, and to validate it with modern methods. So nobody can do anything about this thing, right? So back to our slideshow. I will make these whole thing about this stuff in the future. Right view. So the reason to have right view, right perception is for this specific reason. Because if you perceive things incorrectly, possibility is you will speak these things, and maybe somebody else learn these things incorrectly, and maybe it will become your history, maybe it will become the cause point of chaos for the future generations. So that's why we need a right view. Right view means seeing situations as they are, not as we want them to be, not as identity demands. Education is clarity before opinion. So in today's time, we have a lot of people with a lot of opinions. Those opinions also shift according to their situations at times. And they want to, a lot of people change their even personality. They wear different attires. They pretend in different ways. They're lying to you, to your face, to get a reaction from you. Then they jump ship elsewhere. So these people, they don't have a personality. Something is going on. If you are hearing a constant, somebody's there's somebody's hammering a nail or something. So ignore it if you're hearing that. So if people, there are a lot of conspiracy theorists. So in today's time, what is going on? There are all sorts of narcissists. There are all sorts of psychopaths. There are all sorts of loners. There are all sorts of I don't want to use this term, but losers. They're hungry and thirsty for attention, and they're constantly scanning through people's content, and they're constantly trying to find some vulnerability, trying to misattribute, trying to generate a false narrative. A lot of people get hurt by watching videos, by listening to reality, by being told that this is wrong, this is right. They make it about their fragile ego, their dogmatic beliefs, and they. I have experienced these things personally. That's why I'm saying these things. So what they do is they try to revenge you, and they will pretend throughout your interaction with them, throughout, out of their narcissistic injury, and they try to generate narratives. There are all sorts of things. There are a lot of crazy people in this world. They do a lot of crazy things. So yeah, that is also a thing. Right view is needed so that the suffering the world is going through, the suffering, it can reduce. Because if everybody is aware and everybody is like mindful about things, how their own actions affect other people's life, their life in return, because karma is a real thing. No matter how you may have heard on internet lately, people have made this thing, this term karma, as a whole different. I don't know. A lot of people use karma to fight their fights. To It's not like that. Karma generally it simply mean that if you are going to perpetuate dogma will be perpetuated. If you are going to perpetuate delusion will be perpetuated, and that will in return affect you later. In today's time, I had experience with a lot of wannabe black magicians right now at this point, a lot of psychopaths and narcissists, because a lot of psychopaths and narcissists, they're exploiting people's lives using these black magic, dark magic, all sorts of facades, all sorts of made up stories, this and that. So I had experience with such people for over 6 plus years now, and I had studied them all. I've studied them through and through, what is actually going on. So I came up with this thing. So when you are dogmatic, when you are deluded, when you're confused, when you hate somebody, you can see this pattern in today's time with these neo neo Nazi cults and your far right wing, even in the far left, I would say. Yeah, they're all trying to fight their ego fights, the false ego fights. They hate fights, and they are sucking the whole world into their fights, and this is generating a karma that is affecting everybody, because everything that these people fighting, they are creating and trying to validate. Let's say that people are fighting in today's time. This is no denial. Right wing is fighting left wing. It is the people are fighting formally through nations. People are fighting informally through one another in communities as well, in the same pattern, in the same way. So these, even though these fights are because of false beliefs, false perception, false interpretation, and a lot of people do this out of their people willingly do this, knowingly do this. So this thing creates a pseudo reality. It's a very dangerous thing. Pseudo reality means where people are fighting and they are getting their things validated through people, through their groups, group dynamics, through they made up narratives, and these things are creating an environment. And this is what we call karma in Buddhism. This environment, people, new people, kids, they don't know what's real, what's not real. All right. So they believe things that are not real, that are not right, as the truth, as the basis of their truth, and then they develop using those things. So this thing creates chain reaction, and I don't know how this thing is going to contain itself, how people are going to reverse it. I can only explain this thing. People are more about cloud chasing, attention seeking, making money, making their miserable lives better by stealing content blindly, making lies up. They never lived a life, a good life, but they want to be some sort of pandit, some sort of Buddha, something. They want the label first. They will change their attire, even to fool people. Changing attires, labeling yourself like this or that does not change anything. The thing stays the same. The problem is how the things are being generated and how these things are affecting. So yeah, right view without dogma is a very dangerous. Sorry, the wrong view of the word is very dangerous things. The correct remedy for this is right view without dogma. You should not be dogmatic. Non-attachment to being right. Attachment to being right blocks learning. So when you are attached to always being right, people want to be right. They did not do one day any right things, but they want the credit, they want the label, they want to be recognized as the right, good, best person, and they are continuing the poor behavior for the camera, for the people they have deceived. How many people they can deceive, how they can generate a narrative, they do it for that. So attachment to being right blocks learning. If you are right and you attach to that being right, that blocks learning because nobody can be always right. Right? So if you want to be always right, how can you learn? You never learn. In order to learn, you should recognize that, yeah, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not saying when you are right, you should say that you're wrong. No, but when you're wrong, you should say, okay, maybe I was wrong. And this is what this opportunity is telling me, that I should learn this thing. So this thing makes you an eternal learner, in today's new age buzzword, this and that language. Eternal learner, or it makes you grow. People want to pretend like they have grown, they have become all sorts of adults and this and that. I've seen people in their late 30s, they behave like worse than children. I'm not saying that children who behave worse, no, but a person who is in his late 30s, who's behaving malignantly, who does not have any connection with anything, and who want to be superior just because a lot of people, they can read stuff from internet, and they think that just because they can read and they can make a video about this, that it gives them validity. No. So creates conflict, hardens identity. Education loosens this attachment. Attachment to being right blocks learning, creates conflict, hardens identity. Education loosens this attachment. People are not truly educated in today's time. A lot of people have a lot of resources. People use those resources to become entitled for something. But people, they're not educated in true sense. Education as reduced reactivity. An educated mind notices impulse, does not immediately obey it, chooses response consciously. This is mindfulness in action. So a lot of people in today's time, they have all sorts of ideas, they come across a lot of ideas, and they spin they spin their spider's web within seconds in their head. They know how to use these things to weaponize things within seconds without thinking that they are also connected with that. They are also visible in that. The issue with these people is they're not thinking, they're impulsive people. All right. uh, the reason for people to be impulsive is people, they are not, they don't have a real identity, core identity. People with core identity, they don't react with impulsivity. So they did not develop a core identity, and that's the issue. Now anything and everything they hear, they try to either weaponize it or steal it. Egocentric and ego dystonic. There's a terminology in psychology, egocentric. And something is giving them credit, something, so they try to make that thing about themselves. Ego dystonic. Even when somebody has done something badly, poorly, time and time again, throughout, there are multiple witnesses, multiple traces of that. They don't want to accept it, they want to deny it. So this is ego dystonic. Does not immediately obey it, chooses response consciously. This is mindfulness in action. And then again, there are certain people who are playing this role of villain. They think they are the biggest villain, and they will do their villainous acts. And later on, they will be seen as the heroes, as a savior or something, as a very wise person. This and that. No, these things cannot. One thing cannot replace anything. See, you can generate in people's psyche for a brief time a false impression of things, because in today's time people are living a very fast paced life, but eventually things, they fall back. Reality exists. Reality exists because it is allowed in the world, and reality stays reality because it is not falsehood. Falsehood stays falsehood because it is falsehood, it can never be reality. So the nature, the environment, it self correct itself. And when these things, they readjust stuff, the truth becomes truth, and the false becomes false. So it can, for a brief moment of time, can confuse a few people, but in a longer run of things, they always fall apart. This is what, once again, called as this is a core teaching of Buddhism, karma. And this is once again called as reality, and difference between reality and illusion. All right. Knowledge without wisdom increases harm. Without awareness, knowledge amplifies ego. So people use their own hubris, their own ignorance, their own lack of education, and they think they are harming others. They can attack others. They can defeat others. They can dominate others. No, they are harming themselves first. They harm themselves first, and then they can harm others. This is a core teaching of Buddhism as well as Hinduism. So you cannot harm others without harming yourself first. Knowledge amplifies ego. Intelligence amplifies manipulation. Skill amplifies damage. Education must include ethical containment. So a lot of people in today's time, they have access to a lot of educated concepts. And I said access. I did not say that they are themselves educated. No, they can pull things through internet, through ChatGPT, through your Wikipedia, anywhere, Google, and they can win an argument. But they're not practicing it. Practicing does not mean performing it. Practicing means even when nobody is watching you, you are like following it. You are like, if you are moral and ethical, morality and ethicalness, a lot of people are talking about these things in a broader sense. Even the thieves, even the Abusers, even the haters, are using these things to make somebody else feel badly about this thing. I had one to one experience with such people, believe it or not. But when you actually go through the experience, interaction with them, you see that there's not even a sliver of morality and ethics in those people. Not even a sliver. They're a big, massive facade. There's a whole drama, theatrics about morality and ethics. But deep down, there's not even a sliver of morality and ethics in those people. The problem is morality and ethics comes from a coherent place, from a integrated self. A moral person will always be moral. I'm not saying that in all the cases he should be moral. There are cases when you are interacting with, specifically when you are interacting with psychopaths and narcissists, if you are moral, you will be victimized by them. You don't have to follow morality and ethics because I'm not saying don't follow in general. I'm not saying that become immoral and unethical. I'm not giving you free pass about that. But if a person is bringing an unethical, immoral fight to your house, right? Even after you have done you doing all the right things, moral things, ethical things, you don't have to follow. You don't have to do morality and ethics with that specific individual. You don't have to deform yourself to become one of them. Then there will be no difference. So you cannot. No, but when somebody is bringing an unethical game to your table, you're not obliged to be moral and ethical to that person. All right. And morality and ethics is very different from self righteousness. A lot of people are self righteous. They're not moral, they're not ethical. They think that the pretense, the dogmatic pretense, the drama theatre play they were doing, no, they confuse, they delude themselves. People can see things within seconds. So, yeah. What they don't realize is, even after seeing their crazy side, people still try to help. They will never realize that thing. So, this is the main reason you don't have to be moral and ethical with such people. Knowledge without wisdom increases harm. Knowledge without wisdom increases harm. Without awareness, knowledge amplifies ego. Intelligence amplifies manipulation. Skill amplifies damage. Education must include ethical containment. So I've told you specific terms, specific things, and Buddhists also. I've been in many Buddhistic groups. I do group meditation. I go on retreats. I've spoken with a lot of Buddhist people, actual true Buddhist, and they say that don't do any of these harmful things. But you should not like make yourself a subject of harm. Because, for example, let's say there's a crazy person, there's a wild animal, and wild animal are not in general as evil as they are portrayed. They are like they have their natural behavior. So I'm not talking about those. But then we have these rabid animals. So nothing can work. That's not their nature. That's not their true nature. It want to harm you. So yeah, you cannot sleep next to a rabid dog. So you have to take the precautions. You have to block that thing. That is acceptable. You are also part of nature. You also have a responsibility for yourself. And no religion in this world, no law in this world stops you from self protection. Right? Just make sure that you don't become like one of the people you are claiming. This is the clear cut difference between moral and ethical people and unethical people. Unethical people use these things as a weapon, they weaponize these things, and then they create generate a narrative. Even when they can do a lot of things, to not fall into that same loop. They want to do this. They like to create chaos. They love to create chaos. They love to generate negative emotions in other person that satisfy their sadism, that satisfy their meaningless lives. So this is what we all are dealing with in today's time. Maybe when I'm saying these things as they are, maybe they are sounding a bit harsher, but let's take the example in today's time. So what is going on in the world? What is going on in the cult of MAGA, mega? What is going on in the far right wing? And what is going on in the far left wing as well? What are these people doing? Just tell me. If somebody did not tell these things as they are, I mean, if I'm saying these things make somebody mad, this is not my opinion. This is not my intention, willingness. No, I'm not doing it willingly. I'm not doing it intently. I'm not doing it to create chaos. I'm not doing it to harass or abuse or name call anybody. I'm doing it because I have observed this thing and I've tried to understand these things. So somebody need to say these things as they are. That's what I'm doing. So, for example, if somebody is doing some bad things, bad in the sense harmful things, but doing it covertly in hidden ways, hiding them, mixing them, and all stuff. So, will these things ever come to surface? Will people ever understand these things? So this is my attempt. I'm not saying I am going to fix anybody. No, I have no interest in fixing anybody. I have an interest to educate people what is going on. I'm not going to fix anybody. I cannot fix anybody. I cannot fix myself 100%. I cannot fix my neighbors. I cannot fix my anybody. I don't have authority. This is not morality even to fix anybody. That's abuse. When you try to become a fixer or healer, that's an abuse. That's not my job. A lot of people have become, they pretend they're helping others. Deep down, they are playing all sorts of games, doing it for self aggrandizement, self enhancement. Like, see, there are crazy people in this world, and see, we are just exposing these people to help other people when they are doing it for their out of their narcissism. They are doing it out of their hatred. They are doing it out of their own personal gain. Alright, there are multiple people like that, many people. So that's wrong way, wrong perception, wrong way of teaching. Right way of teaching is to give people what exactly is right, and if it is not right, just step back. If you made a mistake, fix it. Not by changing the narrative, twisting things, trying to hide. Accept where you are wrong and then say the right thing or distance yourself from that. That's the right way. Section 5, education and real life. So, education in relationship. Education shows up as listening without preparing rebuttals, correcting without humiliation, disagreeing without contempt. This is applied compassion, not sentiment mentality. See, a lot of people, see, I have never met a person, single person in my whole life. In my whole life, never met a single person who does not want to do good things, right things. Everybody has this ingrained, I don't know, I would say urge, or like people by default. I never met a person who want to harm others. Not by default. Everybody want to be good person. The problem is when they try to do good things, they end up doing wrong, bad things. Because when they were thinking about doing good thing, they were not thinking about the complexity of the things. They were not talking about the other person's will, wish, and everything else. They were just thinking about, I will do something good and I will become good and people will see me as good. There are a lot of examples. Mark Passio is one of those examples. But that's not how reality works. What you want is not what reality is. Reality is very complex. A person, let's say uh, Donald Trump, once again, he wanted this Nobel Peace Prize. Can you imagine? A lot of psychologists has exposed this. This is not me saying this thing. He wanted Nobel Peace Prize. So either for this to happen, either Nobel Prize community need to lower its standard that can suit to Donald Trump, or Donald Trump, like, they should see something in Donald Trump that is coherent, that is peace loving something. So none of these situations satisfy. So how can Donald Trump become can get a Nobel Peace Prize? So he does not understand this thing. So this comes from a delusion based understanding for self aggrandizement. Donald Trump is not thinking about the people of America, he's not thinking about the whole world. He is thinking about self enhancement of his own image. In his own image, he is a Nobel Peace Prize winner. He tried to he ended up doing making things worse. He went to North Korea and I don't know what he did there. It was a whole thing. He went to Russia, or he called President Putin, and he did all sorts of crazy things that the world was shocked and scared. So that's what Donald Trump was doing. If we talk in terms of Donald Trump specifically, did not he try this thing? Yeah, he did try actually. Maybe he had a very skewed, twisted version of this thing that he's helping, but at least he tried. This much I can give, and not everything is in his control. What he was doing, the stunt he pulled, this could have turned into in any ways. Like it could have become very ugly as well. So, a narcissist, he never thinks about consequences of his own actions. And he tried to pull these things. And later on, when these things become like they come to a fruition. So then the narcissist says that no, 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 no. I tried to help. There was a huge problem and all this stuff. How he talks. So yeah, just a second. Yeah. So thinking in a hubris does not make you a good person. Even when you have intentions, sometimes the intentions do not suffice. That's why you need people's, first of all, true. Like people should participate with their true intentions. Then they can be helped, first of all. Let's say Donald Trump tried to do this, he tried to pull all this thing. Was he like in the terms of Nobel Peace Prize? Did not the community who distributes these prizes, they distribute these prizes to poor people, not Donald Trump. Don't they recognize, acknowledge that he did that? You think that they are stupid than us or anybody else? No, they do recognize that, yeah, maybe Donald Trump tried that. But just trying this and pulling this dangerous stunt give him, does not make him a contender or a winner of Nobel Peace Prize. They consider all the aspects of this thing. But if a narcissist, Donald Trump, a lot of people, a lot of psychologists even say that Donald Trump is a megalomaniac, narcissistic individual. So these are not my words once again. So narcissist does not think about all these things. He is living in his hubris. He want to self-enhance. He want to prove that he is something, and he's doing it for himself. What he's pretending to go to North Korea and do all these great things. They put themselves in danger. They put others in danger. And later on, when they don't get anything, so they even create false narrative. In today's time, there are things that are happening, false flag things, like a lot of people speculate about that kid who shot Donald Trump's ear and there's no scar. So how that happened? So they also forge things to pretend to be heroes to get a public outcry, to manipulate and all stuff. So this is all due to lack of true education. Right? Let's move on. Listening without preparing rebuttals. How you pronounce this word? That's how I pronounce. So yeah, if I'm butchering this. Pardon me, I'm from India. Correcting without humiliation, disagreeing without contempt. But this is not just one person's responsibility. This is both sides' responsibility, not one side. This is applied compassion, not sentimentality. I tried. With a lot of people, people think that compassion is weakness, empathy is exploit. So yeah, this is what they get. Education at work. In real work, no one cares how smart you sound. People care if things move forward. Clarity is greater than brilliance. Reliability is greater than ego. So, the time period we are all living in, everything is flipped. And a lot of people have exposed. There's a narcissist, malignant narcissist. His own people told me that he's a malignant narcissist. So, even his name is Sethicus Boza, I will call him here. Even he says that everything is inverted. So people know these things. The problem here is what people understand, it is not same as how they behave. Understanding is one thing, it can affect a person's personality in many ways, many different ways. Understanding is needed, but this is only half education, half work. If you understand things properly, that is half work. The other half is how you apply that work in your real life. So, in Buddhism, I'm not being hypocrite here. I'm not all Buddha like right now. I also make mistakes. I had made mistakes, and the mistakes were made because everything is not in my control. People are going to attack me. Obviously, I will respond in a certain way. It does not mean that it's all my responsibility to contain the situation. No, it's not. I did my things right. If other people are into this thing, that's on to them. Right? Education and authority. An educated person does not blindly obey. Obeying does not mean defiance. Not obeying something blindly does not give you a free pass to be defiant. Defiance is a part of personality disorder. Not obeying, choosing not to obey, is the healthy response for things that you don't believe in. But you should be very clear in your actions, in your words. Defiance is, I'm better than you. You cannot do anything about this. I will do it. So that's different. Does not blindly rebel. A lot of people, when they come across things they don't like, they don't, it happened. So what happens is, let me tell you one experience with myself. So there were certain people who wanted to know certain things. So I told them those things. Then they got hurt with the truth. Now later on, what those people started to do is those people started to steal those things, and they started to pretend like they are them, they are those things, and they flip narratives. What they are, they blame it on others. What others are, that first the truth, they check their reality. They want to be like that right now, and this has happened multiple times. I'm talking in terms of specifically narcissistic people I came across. So narcissists, they're more about status. They're more about a charismatic face. They're more about facade. They are more about self-aggrandizement and self-enhancement. So whenever you tell certain good things with a narcissist, narcissists want to become you. You want to replace you. And so much so with narcissists, with personality disorder people, they do it. There's a whole thing, and this is documented stuff I'm talking about. It's not my opinion about these things. I can show you videos of actual psychologists explaining this actual exact thing. They want to replace you. They want to become you, but they want you to be gone so that they can pretend like you. I have dealt with this thing at least 3 times now. 3 times with the very famous narcissist. One is just a low grade narcissist. Two are famous narcissists. And there's a whole ecosystem of such people. There are groups with different personality disorders. Some has narcissistic personality disorder, some have covert narcissism, some have overt narcissism, some have psychopathy, some have borderline, this histrionic, and they see you as the problem. That's the biggest thing. They think that there's something wrong with you when you are like, there was an individual who asked me to teach him something, and I tried to teach this person, and I told that before teaching, before undertaking this responsibility, because I did not want to be sucked into all this thing. So I told this person that things like this, he is inauthentic. Okay, there was some issue with my OBS. He was being inauthentic, and he's trying to just convince me. So the person will never understand that I tried to help. And exactly the same things I told that person, that he promised that it is his responsibility. In narrative, he's flipping things. He tried to flip things. And he's playing victim. And when the responsibility of that person, he did not take any responsibility because he know how to exploit things, how to fool people. So the person is hurt with his own actions, and he want to blame somebody else, scapegoat somebody else. So he won't have to deal with the reality. A narcissist is living in a hubris. A narcissist is living in a fantastic world. Fantasy does not mean a story. Fantasy mean having this skewed version of perception. He's perceiving things incorrectly. And in his perception, he's trying to do things to self enhance in the narrative. There's a term called self enhancement and self betterment or self correction. So in this world, a lot of things, a lot of people, they do things incorrectly, but they don't want to take the responsibility of that. They don't want to self correct. So what self correction does is, self correction cures the problem from the root. It fixes the problem from the root. What people end up doing is, because they are living in a fantastic reality, in the reality, this internet culture, it has generated a phenomena where people are more about show off. So they maintain this show offness, this false facade, and they live this false facade. They have confused themselves that this false facade, this false ego, is the reality of these people, just because they were able to fool other people with that false facade. And now these people, they see things from other people's glaze clear. Like a narcissist or psychopath usually is misinterpreting reality, so he bark for what how people are going to react, how they are going to be convinced, not what reality is. So narcissist and such people never become true educator, they never become true students even. They're more about becoming this face, the face that is hollow, and that has not even the sliver of education to back it. You can see it in their behavior. So education and authority, an educated person does not blindly obey, does not blindly rebel, evaluates context, acts proportionately. This is maturity. So people are not mature, they want to be, pretend to be mature. When reality strikes to such people, they do all sorts of crazy things, and they don't want to take the responsibility of those crazy things as well. If you're trying to help somebody, it's not your responsibility to become a fixer and healer of that person, especially if a person is asking you to help them. What you're trying to do is, you are being courteous. It's your courtesy toward other person. The other person is not willing to fix himself. It's not your responsibility. The best thing you can do in that situation is to move on. That's the best thing. Right, this is done. Education and meaning. Meaning arises when actions align with reality. Ego resistance decreases. Energy is not wasted on internal conflict. Education reduces internal friction. So, education and meaning, the true meaning of education that a lot of people have confused with just mere memorizing things or pretending. No, the true meaning of education is to do all these things. Meaning arises when actions align with reality. What you are is what you like. A lot of people have, I don't know, multiple personalities. I've seen people with severe personality. I don't know, even, because these terms have changed their meaning throughout the documented history of psychology as well. In DSM 1 to DSM 5, they have changed the meaning. Sometimes they were called as multiple personality disorder, split personality disorder. Now they are seen as identity disturbance or confabulation. There's a whole lot of things going behind, but every single description about these things is, there's a clear cut distinction between being healthy and unhealthy. So these things are unhealthy. Like, for example, there are actors who play roles in movies, they become something new. So they are not confusing their identity with a role. They know who they are truly, right? If you take the example of Christian Bale, he sometimes becomes fat, he becomes skinny, he becomes muscular. So he has done this in extreme cases. But Christian Bale is not crazy because he knows who Christian Bale, the identity is. Christian Bale is not, I'm Batman, right? He's not Batman. Christian Bale is, he's not American Psycho. Even when he was playing American Psycho, so he was pretending to be another person, Tom Cruise. It is known fact. Fact, not fact. It's like Christian Bale said this with his own mouth. So that can be a healthy thing. Healthy in the sense Christian Bale is not doing it out of hate, out of defiance, out of this and that. He is doing it for the purpose of entertainment and not to convince other people that it is entertaining. He knows deep down that this is for entertainment, for healthy entertainment. He never said that he was playing the role of Christian Bale, this Tom Cruise, in the beginning. He was not doing to gaslight or hurt or attack Tom Cruise. And Tom Cruise, I don't know, I did not see his reaction, what he did after that. So yeah, that is healthy way of communicating things. And then there's people who become fixated, who become obsessed. I have experienced these things personally. Meaning arises when actions align with reality, ego resistance decreases. Energy is not wasted on internal conflict. Education reduces internal conflicts. Section 6, final synthesis of this whole thing, and this will be the end of this whole presentation and whole lecture. What true education produces? True education produces inner stability, outer adaptability, ethical restraint, psychological health. We don't do good things to get validity from people. We do good things to be a healthy person, to have a healthy life, to have some stability, not to get validity from your peer group, from your cult. No. What true education produces? True education produces inner stability, outer adaptability. When you are inner stable, outer adaptability is easier. You accepted yourself, your flaws, and everything else. You're not in a constant conflict with yourself first and with others later. Outer capability, adaptability, when you are in not in constant conflict with yourself, you can adapt with the word as well. Adaptation, not self enhancement. Enhancement is facade, it's hollow. Adaptability to doing the actual real true work that makes you adaptable. When you actually truly in true sense become moral and ethical with the integrated self, you become a healthy person. Everything is connected with that. Everything is connected with integrity, and integrity is the cause point of morality and ethics. Morality and ethics cannot exist without integrity, right? False facade can. So outer adaptability, ethical restraint is one of the part of integrity. Once again, is a symptom of healthiness. Psychological health, this will not help somebody else, your neighbor children. No, this will help you. So it's called psychological health. That's why we need to be educated for ourselves, not for the other, not for the cloud chasing, not for the internet, right? Then we have one line definition. So true education is the capacity to relate to life clearly, humbly, and functionally without ego distortion so that one can move forward meaningfully. So, this is the core teaching of Buddhism as well. Buddhism is about reducing suffering, education is about reducing suffering. Buddhism is about not falling for Maya illusion. Education is to be educated so that you cannot fall for the deception, deception of ignorance. True education is the capacity to relate to the life clearly. Clearly, I'm saying. Humbly. Yeah, this is the truth. There's this big thing, and I'm not all knowing, I'm not all like, I cannot do everything. I can do this thing. There are people who can do this thing better than me. I can do this one thing. Nobody can do this one thing better than me. But all other things people can do better than me. Right? You are not superior than everybody else. People also can be and are superior, far more superior than you. So, life clearly, humbly, and functionally. So, this thing makes you functional. When you accept your limitations, don't waste your time on unnecessary things to prove others. You become functional, right? Without ego distortion, so that one can move forward meaningfully. A person who is flipping uh, his personality, one day he's something, other day he's something else, and this he thinks that this is causing person, other people some discomfort, something. No, you're wasting your time. There's no piezo reaction there. One line definition, strong close. So this is the final slide. I will stop here after this. Education is not about becoming superior. It is about seeing more clearly, reacting less blindly, causing less harm, living more honestly. This is wisdom in action. So when you become more honest, more ethical, more understanding, more educated, then you become truly educated. So yeah, this we have reached to the end of this presentation. I will be back with other presentations, other videos in general and formal videos in the future. Okay, so I hope this helps people who are in need, and I hope people will start educating them properly.